Welcome back. This is another episode of Streams, episode 48, I believe. We're just gonna get right to it. I want you to hit that like and that subscribe for me. And I have this interesting post that I saw. I don't have a video this time, just a post that I saw that I wanted to talk about. The post says that millennial dads spend 3 times more time with their kids than their father spent with them. Um, and I want to read a little bit of. I want to read all of the caption that was posted. This is posted by Wealth on Instagram, and it says millennial dads are taking on parenthood with a newfound sense of responsibility, um, spending triple the time with their kids compared to the past. Research shows a big change in how parents share the responsibilities, with the number of dads who've never changed a diaper dropping from 43% in 1982 to just 3% today. These guys are fully committed to taking care of their kids from bath time to bedtime routines, making their families more connected and enjoyable. All right. First and foremost, I wanted to present this topic, and I want to ask you what you think is the reason for this. What do you think? First of all, do you believe that this is true? Is this something that you've seen with your own 2 eyes? Um, and if you're young enough, is it something that you've experienced yourself with your father? And also, what do you think is the reason for this change? They said the number of fathers who had never changed a diaper at all was at 43% about 42 years ago, 1982. And it's dropped to only 3% of fathers who has never changed a diaper today. And that's like drastically changed. Um, my opinion is that this is true. I think this is true 100%. I know a lot of people, a lot of men that are my age or younger or even older, a little bit older with children. And we're all very, very involved. My children are literally right here, like 10 feet away from me playing the PS5 right now. And that's usually the case. That's usually how it is with me. You know, 80, 90% of the time of my life. The only time that I'm not really ever around them is when I get the rare break, the weekend where I don't have them and I get some alone time. But other than that, they're with me. Um, but I do think there are like some societal phenomenons that have contributed to this change. I think it's like, you know, I don't want to get too hot button topic with this thing, but I think uh I think things like feminism or more like a shared bearing of the load over the responsibilities of a household have contributed to this. Now women work, men work, in a lot of households, both of them have jobs where it's almost like the men have no choice but to be there more often because the women are at work from 9 to 5 while the man he might have a night job or he might not have a job at all. Where, in the 80s, that was still possible because women could legally work then. But in terms of like what was societally um accepted and what was the norm was much different than it is today. I also think it has a lot to do with, like, to be honest, I want you to understand that I'm saying this from a place of like, you know, um when I say this, I kind of fall under this category as well. But it almost is like caused by the feminization of men now, where you had this super macho image of men at one point in time where all they did was work and eat steak and you know and just have sex and conquer. And things have changed now to where men are, we're they're looking at us like they're trying to give us the space to be a little more emotionally vulnerable and intelligent, or to build these relationships with our kids. And I think a lot of it is also contributed. It's caused by the how do I say this? I think all throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even, men have led these lives that have been mostly filled with work and pain and discomfort, or smoking and drinking. And I think we've had enough time as a society to sort of have a study on these things and the effects that they have on us. You know, if you go back to the 60s and 50s, even, you're talking about men dying of hypertension at 45. And I think because of that, we watched all of these men go through these eras of just working and smoking and drinking and not really being involved in anything emotionally or caring about things the way that we do now. It led to like stress, heart disease, hypertension, you know, and these things are early killers. They put you in the grave 30 years before you're supposed to be there, 20, 30, 40 years before you're expected to actually be there biologically. And I think we started to put more priority on family, on our children. I think a lot of men live their lives in the pursuit of wealth and provision for the last 6 decades, in this country, or 10 decades in this country, all through the Industrial Revolution in America, or all throughout history. We could talk about the last few thousand years, um, where we've now gotten society to this place where we have the comforts and we have the luxury of slowing down and enjoying, smelling the coffee, smelling the roses, enjoying the time and enjoying the things that we provide, whereas before it's like we just go off work, kill ourselves, and we send the provisions home. That goes for soldiers in war, people on oil rigs, people working on boats, doing longshoremen jobs and all sorts of stuff like that. But now, society has gotten to a place where we can slow down and we can enjoy the fruits of our labor, just like the women and children can, maybe to our own detriment, you know. And that's something that I think has contributed to us being able to lend our time into our children's lives more often than normal. You know, um, men have regretted, I think, in mass, they have regretted not being able to um, experience their children's lives. Like, you spend your 20s, 30s, and 40s as a young man, working and working and working, and then you get old, and then you realize all the things that you missed, all the things that passed you by, all the things that your children experience and the stories that they have that you weren't necessarily a part of, or the things that you couldn't protect them from, as opposed to even my father or me and my generation. Like, I'm a part of everything that my children go through, from their school events to their milestones in life, losing their teeth, doctor's appointments, all of that stuff. When my children, you know, got outside, the first dentist appointment, losing their teeth, their first haircut, their first day of school, kindergarten, and even pre-K, I was there for all of that. I'm the one that booked the dentist appointments and the doctor's appointments. I named my children. I signed the birth certificate, and sometimes it is a little hindering because it's like it does stop me in my pursuit of the things that I feel like I need to be pursuing, even if it's just women, but I make that sacrifice because I know that they are more important to me than women, or sometimes even money can be. I've turned down plenty of work just be at home with my children instead, because that's sometimes it's needed. Sometimes I need it, not just them, you know. And I think that's the difference. I think the world was set up in a way 50 years ago where men were just expected to work and die, and they had feelings too, but that's why men would go to work all day, go to the bar afterwards and get shit faced and get drunk, because they're like running from themselves, or they're trying to suppress something that's really in them, or they're abusive to their children. You look at all the movies, the old, the typical tropes the way that they display fathers in like period pieces from the 70s or 80s or 60s or 50s or 40s. The men are short, they're stern, they're mean, they're abusive. And it's almost like they're abusive because they're like taking all their stress out on their families because they don't get a chance to be celebrated. They don't get a chance to be a part of anything. They don't get appreciated. They don't get to feel joy or receive love in a way that everyone else does. Men are guilty of their own crimes and shit like that, against their families or women or whatever you want to pull, whatever you want to cherry pick. But the way that I see things is that the men, even men that I'm related to, connected to, my father's generation and my grandfather's generation, you know, they worked themselves to the bone. I watched them all do it. I've seen many men, dozens of men, go to an early grave because they killed themselves or they numbed themselves too much with drugs trying to escape their realities because of the intensity of their reality. It's like they're working themselves to death or they're stressing about something or because they can't provide, they're not wanted. Um, I think there's a lot of factors that contribute to this phenomenon. I think this is an amazing thing, though, all in all. My father doesn't even know who his father is, and he poured it into me a lot during my lifetime. Like, he wanted to make sure that he was there for me because he didn't get a chance to experience what it was like to have a father. He'll tell me stories about things that happened to him that he had no protection from. And he would say, these things would never have happened to me if I had a father. If someone cared enough to just wonder where I was at any given time, you know, compared to my own experience where I grew up or I went to school at least in this neighborhood that's right behind me, right outside this window. And I couldn't go too far without my father showing up and being angry because he didn't know where I was or telling me that I had to be at this place at this time because he was going to be there to pick me up. That in itself is care. It's intention. It's like I already know that I'm on a short leash because even if I want to go out and about in the world and get into some bullshit, I know 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, he's going to be showing up and he's going to be looking for me. And if I'm not there, when I do show up, it's going to be hell to pay. You know what I'm saying? And that's accountability. That's protection. That's intention. That's empathy. It's care. You know what I mean? And my father, just one generation before me, didn't experience that. He just didn't. He might have experienced it from some characters in his life in some form, but overall, the stories that I've heard and the timeline that I have of his life, even he didn't receive what we receive and what we give our children now. And that wasn't that long ago. My father's not that old. You know what I mean? And that was sort of a normal thing for his generation. Unfortunately, because of the fabric of America and the way that things have played out over the last 160 years, um, our people kind of got to a point where it was normal for men to not be in the house. It was normal for men to not know who their father was at all, because of the choices that the mother might make or because of the conditions that we all had to live in that sort of led us to the choices that we made, you know. But now, I have several friends, best friends, the people that I do my podcast with every week. We'll probably be doing an episode tonight. Everybody on that panel, between the four of us, me, Edward, Derek, Ojo, we all have children. You know, we all have children. We all have multiple children. I have the least. I have two sons. Derek has three sons. Ojo has two daughters. And my friend Edward has three daughters and one son, you know, and we're all there every day. While we're on this podcast, we do it remotely in the first place because it's much more convenient for our life in the way that our lives are set up. We don't have to leave the house to do it remotely on this app. When we can just link up on the internet on our laptops or whatever and do the podcast remotely, it allows us to still be present. And that's one of the dilemmas that we have to go through trying to pursue things like a podcast when we're all in our 30s and 40s. It's like, okay, what's important though? Do we want to, do we want to leave our families right now three for 4 hours at a time to do this podcast for, you know, for once a week or whatever? It's because we want to be there and we want to provide and protect, and we want to be able to take our children to and from school, as opposed to there's a point in time where men, they don't even know where the fuck their kids go to school at. Just go watch some old TV shows and look at how the dynamic in the house has changed, where the father is almost like totally disconnected. Like you look at somebody like Al Bundy, he's like a piece of shit. He doesn't know anything. He's just on the couch drinking, watching football. You would go watch Roseanne. It's like they're there with their kids, but the dynamic is totally different than the dynamic that I see in my own household. Now I know this is a TV show, but I'm just trying to pull from a universal reference that we can all, witness together, you know. But times have changed, man. And I think we've spent so many decades as a people, as black people, spending times and growing up in our homes without fathers that at some point it just clicked in us where we're like, okay, well, I know what it felt like to not have a father or a grandfather even. My father went through the same thing and I sort of perpetuated the cycle. It has to stop somewhere. And the choice is yours to make to say, I don't want to perpetuate the cycle. I want to break the curse with myself. I don't want to break I want to break the curse with myself. And that's a conscious effort you have to make to make sure that your family is healed going forward. Generational curses are not broken with magic. They're broken with effort and work. That's something that we have to do on purpose. It isn't something that just happens. You just wake up one day and the whole family are college graduates with, six-figure salary jobs, everybody. No, that has to be done by building your network, being intentional with your network, and making everything almost all inclusive. You have to look out for your cousin, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father. You have to look out for each other, and you have to pool your resources, and you have to make connections for one another and things like that. You have to help babysit sometimes. You have to contribute a little bit of money and let people, be a part of the resource pool. That's how you get it done. But I think that's it, man. I had to tell my kids to be quiet during this, but I'm not even going to edit it out. It's just going to be a part of it because they are being annoying right now. But I am being a father at the same time that I'm working and trying to pursue something so that I can secure a better future for them. I'm not doing YouTube for fun. I do this because I enjoy it, sure. But the ultimate goal is that I'm trying to build an empire with this. It's just another form of me expressing myself and practicing something that can lead to another source of income and even a platform for other sources of income. If I got a T-shirt or something I want to sell, I could do it through this. You know what I'm saying? But um, I appreciate y'all, man. Please hit that like and that subscribe. Trying to beat this algorithm so I can do it for them. I don't know if y'all can hear them in the background. This mic and this platform is pretty good at cutting out background noise, but they are in the background talking, even though I told them to be quiet. But they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about anything. But again, do that for me. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. This is Streams episode 48. I'll be back with another episode, maybe tomorrow. I don't even know. I'm just trying to be as consistent as I possibly can while also working around all the shit that I have to do in my life. But I think we are going live tonight in about 4 hours or whatever. And I'm looking forward to that, man. But holla at me, man. I appreciate y'all.